Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Suciati. I would like to present my seminar presentation. It is about an analysis of errors in pronouncing on diphthong sounds made by English department students. I divided my talk into 3 points. First, Chapter 1 Introduction, 2 Chapter 2 Literature Review, and 3 Chapter 3 Methodology. Chapter 1 Introduction. Diphthong. The diphthong is a sound made by combining two vowels. According to Crystal 2008, the diphthong sound is used in the phonetic classification of vowels based on how they are pronounced. It refers to vowels in which a change occurs in a single quality seen in the syllable. Diphthongs are vowels that have to sound in one syllable. So, if the vowel sound keeps changing in one syllable, then we call it diphthong. Errors. Most of Indonesian students have many errors in pronouncing diphthong. Students have a habit that tends to pronounce sounds according to Indonesian pronunciation. English vowels have another articulation system than Indonesian, so they can cause errors. Therefore, they do not take these types of sounds seriously. When we learn a foreign language, if one component of the sound or tone is mispronounced or the tone is sound out of the vowel sound rule, it will affect the word meaning. So we have to minimize the mistakes we make and try our best from an early age, patiently and gradually in English pronunciation diphthong. According to Fatima 2016 from Muhammadiyah University of Purworejo, in her findings, there were several errors in pronouncing diphthong. One of the example is the word same. The correct pronunciation of the same word is same, but none of the students has pronounced it correctly. And when I attending a micro teaching in the English course at the University of Bengkulu, many of the research classmates made mistakes in pronouncing the diphthong sound when making presentation. They did not realize that they had mispronounced them. The second is Suciati 2015 from STKIP PGRI Pasuruan. In her research, she found that almost all students have difficulties in pronunciation diphthong. The third is Rasaki 2018 from STKIP PGRI Sumatera Barat. In his research, he found that the student being inconsistent with pronouncing the diphthong. The fourth is Dewi 2018 from Dayanapura University. In her research, she found that diphthong can be produced correctly. Meanwhile, diphthong cannot produce ideally. And the last is Saada NRD 2020 University of Padang. In their research, the researcher found that learners' ability in pronouncing diphthong was in level fair. It can be concluded that students still make many errors in pronouncing diphthong, and I interested in researching some errors made by students of the English Education Study Program at the University of Bengkulu in pronouncing several words containing diphthong in English. Limitation of the research. The participants are the English students in University of Bengkulu. In this study, the researcher will focus on analyzing the students' error pronouncing in English words that contain closing diphthong a, I, and oi. And research questions. What pronunciation errors do the students of the English study program at the Bengkulu University made in closing diphthong A, I, and I? And objective. To find out pronunciation errors do the students of English study program at the Bengkulu University made in closing diphthong A, I, and I. Significance of the research. For lecture, as the material for teaching evaluation, teachers pay more attention to pronunciation, especially closing diphthong sounds. For students, students will learn from the mistakes they probably commonly made on pronouncing closing diphthong sounds. And for the other or next researcher, the researcher hopes that the result of the study can help other researchers who research the same subject or topic. Definition of key terms. Diphthong. The diphthong is the combination of the pronunciation of two vowels into one syllable. Error. The student's speech or writing produced by students who have not fully mastered several institutionalized systems. Chapter 2. Literature Review. Pronunciation. Hornby 1974 said that pronunciation is a way of pronouncing a language or how to pronounce a word. So in Hartoto 2010 said that pronunciation is how a word is heard when pronounced. And Kelly 2001 said that pronunciation has two main characteristics, namely a phoneme characteristic and suprasegmental feature. English has a very different way of pronouncing it. We often come across several words with almost the same pronunciation, even though they have the same writing. They have different ways of pronouncing them. The difference in pronunciation that occur should not be underestimated because it can lead to different meanings. So, the better our pronunciation, the easier it is for us to communicate with others, and the worse our pronunciation, the more difficult it will be for others to understand. Students need to have good pronunciation because students can convey their thoughts, feelings, and so on. Pronunciation features. According to Kelly 2001 before, segmental features or phonemes and suprasegmental features. In phonemes, divided into two parts, consonant and vowels. In consonant, divided into two parts, voice and unvoiced. And in vowels, divided into two parts, single and diphthong. And in single, divided into two parts, short and long. And in suprasegmental feature, divided into two parts, also intonation and stress. And in stress, divided into two parts, word stress and sentence stress. Error. Brown 2007 said that error is a visible deviation from the grammar of native speaker, which reflect learner interlanguage competence. Dulay in Lakshmi 2020 said that students' speech or writing errors are weakness in conversation or composition that deviate from the norm chosen by several natural language performers. And Corder 1992 errors are usually caused by people who have not fully mastered some institutionalized language system. And next, the factor of error. There are four factors of error. First, transfer between language, caused by interference in the original language being studied. 2. Intralingual transfer, reflects general characteristic of learning rules. And 3. Learning context refers to social situation as well as teachers and material in the case of school learning. And 4. Communication strategy, the use of verbal or non-verbal mechanism for productive communication of information. And next, preview study. Preview study. There are 5 preview studies in this research. The first is the research of Donald 2016, who researched Indonesian students' difficulties in pronouncing English diphthong at the University of Pasir Pangarayan. In his research, the researcher wanted to know student difficulty pronouncing the English diphthong and the factor that influence that student difficulty in pronouncing the English diphthong. The result that the researcher found were that among the 8 English diphthong, Indonesian students tended to have difficulty pronouncing diphthong O, and it was easier to pronounce diphthong oi. Donald said that several factors affect students having difficulty pronouncing English diphthong. First is the influence of the student's mother tongue. Second is the lack of knowledge about the English sound system. Third, students are unsuccessful in using loan words in English. The second previous studies is Suciati C. 2015, who researched a study on the students' ability in pronouncing diphthong at STKIP PGRI Pasuruan. As a result, the researcher found that many students have incorrect pronunciation in pronouncing English diphthong. The data show that their ability to pronounce English diphthong was in the fair category. The researcher found that the difficult diphthong was pronounced by the student as diphthong O, and for the easiest diphthong that was pronounced by them is diphthong OW. And the third is Rasaki 2018, who researched about students' inconsistency problems in pronouncing diphthong sounds in reading aloud activity at English Department of STKIP PGRI Sumatera Barat. The result of these studies analysis show 5 inconsistent sounds in pronunciation, namely sounds A, I, and O. The fourth previous study is Dewi 2018 from Puradayana University, who researched about pronunciation of diphthong by 7th grade students. Dewi researched private classes from junior high school. The result that the researcher found that diphthongs A, I, O can be produced correctly by those 10 students. Meanwhile, diphthongs O, Au, A, I, U, O cannot be produced perfectly by the students. The last previous study is Saada and RD 2020, who researched about the analysis of students' pronunciation error on English diphthong made by 5th semester of English Language Education Program University Negeri Padang. The finding of this research show that the ability of students to pronounce diphthong was fair. 60% good, 24% weak, 12%, and very good only 1 student. The 5 studies above are related to my research, namely analysis pronunciation error in English, especially diphthong. There are several differences with the research that I will do, and the difference lies in the scope of the study, the research subject. The 5 previous studies analyzed the common diphthong pronunciation error in English, involving all kinds of diphthong. On the other hand, in this study, my research focused only on the closing diphthong E, namely A, I, and O, and the research subject was a student in the 4th semester of the English Education Study program at the University of Bengkulu. Chapter 3, Methodology, Research Design, Descriptive Quantitative Method. According to John W. Creswell, 1991, quantitative research investigates social problems based on testing a theory consisting of variables measured by number and analyzed by statistical procedure to determine whether the predictive generalization of the theory are correct. Population in this research are 114 students, the 4th semester students in the English Education Study program at the University of Bengkulu. The population of this study was the 4th semester student English study program. The first semester was chosen based on considering that the students had taken phonetics and phonology in the previous semester, and they are assumed that they have understood the concept of pronunciation. Sample. In this research, sample are 29 students will be selected based on voluntary members of each class. In this study, I using random sampling techniques in selecting respondents. I will select 29 students as a sample representing approximately 25 of 114 students from each class in the English Education Study program at the University of Bengkulu. Based on Arikunto 2002 defines the sample as a part of representative of the population to be studied. When the total number of respondents in the study less than 100, all samples are taken. Conversely, if it is more than 100, the sample is 10% until 15% or 20% until 25% or more. Instrument. In order for this research to be focused and more accurate, the researcher chose 30 words to be used as the pronunciation test. 30 words of closing diphthong A, I, O, 10 words containing diphthong A, 10 words containing diphthong I, and 10 words containing diphthong O. The word is chosen based on a familiar word to make it easier for the respondent to pronounce. Data collecting. First, interview. Second, giving the test to the respondent. Respondents were asked to reading several words consisting of 3 closing diphthongs, which were to be analyzed by the author. Then, the writer is recording the respondent pronunciation. And 4. Recording the respondent pronunciation using the researcher's cell phone. Data analysis. After get the data, I will check whether it is correct or not. After check, I will give score. Gives a score of 1 for each correct pronunciation and a score of 0 for incorrect pronunciation. Then, score the respondent and turn into the respondent test table analysis. The average score. To calculate the error that occurs, use the following formula. X, correct pronunciation, division total pronunciation, times 100%. To classification score, using the mastery level used in the Tinambunan criteria, to find out how students pronounce diphthong sound in English. Number of error in percentage, 0 until 25%, level of ability excellent, 26 until 50%, level of ability good, 51 until 75%, level of ability fair, and 70 until 100%, level of ability pure. I use the average score result to find out the difference in the average score of students' pronunciation error on closing diphthong sounds. Research procedure. First, planning the research, then stating the population, make the instrument, conducting the test, analyzing the data, discussing the findings, and making conclusion and suggestion. Thank you.